What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with KP. Per request, I have got a mobility episode for you today. I'm going to run you through my current mobility program. This is going to be a voiceover episode because I do not yet have a mic that suffices for the kind of content I'm trying to bring you. So I will run through this at the gym and I will voice it over for you. But on the way to the gym, I'm going to give you a quick update. I am currently 2 weeks exactly post-show, post NPC universe. There has been so much change that we have implemented this improvement season, and I am still adjusting. And so I've shared a couple episode updates since show, kind of taking you through my first week of my reverse and my first check-in of my off season. That first check-in of my off season really changed the trajectory of where the focus is going on the nutrition side. So for me to keep things organized in my brain, I've divided my primary areas of focus into 3 buckets. But it's not that black and white. So on the training side, based on feedback, our focus is on growing and developing my upper outer glute and not growing, developing, building my upper body. So I am training 0 upper body, you guys, which is so strange for me. And it's like a whole thing to navigate on its own because I feel like my arms are just looking for any excuse to get a pump. So we'll get into that some other time. So my new training split is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 training days, and they are all lower body. Today is Friday. Friday's training day is glutes and quads. This is the second time I have done this training. So I am still adapting and adjusting because there are like 5 new exercises on this training day for me. All of my lower body training is super intentional, specifically my Wednesday training day, because that is glute isolation. So it's a lot of unilateral movements where I'm not doing heavy weight. It's more about the mind muscle connection. So there is a huge emphasis on mobility work this improvement season. So I have my follow-up with Dr. Kyle in 2 weeks, and in the meantime I am just adjusting and acclimating to all of the new exercises on my training program, as well as my new training split and training cadence. This is a big adjustment to me. When you look at it on paper, it looks like it should be an easy adjustment because I'm going from a super specific training split and training cadence. My training days were not attached to the days of the week. It was a rolling split, and it was 2 days on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, repeat. It was a lot for me to keep straight, but I had adapted and adjusted to that. And that had me training about 5 days a week. So going from training 5 days a week to 3 days a week, I have a lot more rest. A lot more rest, no upper body, and just a completely different type of training. So again, mobility is very important. And that is what I'm going to share with you today, my lower body mobility work that I do before every lower body session. This is mostly for hips, some back, some knees. So I guess bucket number 1 is all of my training, mobility, rest, recovery, everything I just said. Bucket number 2 on the nutrition side, huge emphasis on gut health. If you did not watch my previous episode, go and watch it. If there is interest in this topic, let me know below. Just comment gut health or whatever, and I will do an entire episode on that, because basically our focus is on regaining better enzymatic function in my gut so that I can tolerate more foods. So right now my diet is very controlled. When I say very controlled, it's really no different than what it was during prep. I'm just now adding back in my probiotic, my enzyme, and there is like a method to the madness. And there is like a whole window of adjusting and adapting when you're resetting your gut environment, specifically coming off show, coming off a 6-month prep. So I am going through that right now. So in addition to my reverse, I am on a gut health journey. The last bucket, the big emphasis is just on being, which I think is something people often overlook, because what I have learned in the 2 weeks of my off season so far is that when people set out on their health, wellness, and fitness journey and setting goals and all the things, don't get me wrong, action is required, but everyone is so focused on what they need to do. With all of this additional rest, what these 2 weeks of my improvement season have taught me, and what I think a lot of people fail to understand, is that more isn't always more. You do not build muscle in the gym. You build muscle while you're recovering, which is why recovery is so important, which is why I am resting more of the week than I am training. And so with doing less, it has forced me to focus on who I am being when I am not doing. So just as much of your health, wellness, and fitness journey is who you are being. Are you being the person that you say you want to be? So I guess that third bucket for me is who I am being outside of what I am doing. That's been very interesting and something I wish I would have recognized early on in my health, wellness, and fitness journey, because I am somebody that has always just done the most. And so if that is landing and you feel like I'm speaking directly to you, start paying attention to who you are being alongside of all of the doing. All that to say, that's our focus 2 weeks post-show. Let's go get this mobility work in so I can get on with my lower body B training.
All right, you guys, this is my lower body mobility routine that I have done before every single lower body session for the last 6 months. So every single day, whether I'm training or not, I start with my 90-90 stretch. I usually do this first thing in the morning as part of my daily routine, but I am starting with that here today just to show you guys. So the goal is to be able to sit nice and tall with both glutes on the floor. I am still not there. So you will see that I am leaning into that supporting arm, but over time I've had to lean less. So I've been able to sit up taller. My glute has gotten closer, but that is because I sit in this stretch for 2 minutes each side. Stretching prior to getting this program, I was doing maybe like 15 to 30 seconds. The key is sitting in the stretch long enough that your body is able to relax and allow these tissues to open up. So now I am moving on to liftoffs. This is where we start transitioning from passive stretching into active mobility. Passive stretching is letting gravity or your body weight move you into a position. Active mobility is proving to your nervous system that you can actually control that position. Same with that one. The goal is to be upright doing that, and I am still leaned, bent over after 6 months. So keep that in mind. Now we are moving on. These are banded hip internal rotations. So as you see, I place the band around my feet and I pull my feet outward one side at a time. It looks like my foot is moving out, but the movement is actually coming from my hip rotating inward. This is another active mobility exercise. I am not just stretching into that internal rotation. I am strengthening my ability to control it. I try to keep my knee and the rest of my body as still as possible, so I'm creating the movement from my hip instead of twisting or compensating somewhere else. Then we get into hip airplanes, and these have definitely become my favorite exercise, and they actually started as a love-hate for sure, but that's just because they have seriously made the biggest impact in this entire program. Like if I just had to choose one mobility exercise, it would be this one. But if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen me doing these holding a dumbbell, but I really want to emphasize that the weight came much later for me. For at least a month, definitely 4 weeks, I did these with nothing but just my body weight, because these are not a strength training exercise. None of these are. Yes, they make your hips stronger, but I am not doing them to build muscle. I am doing them to improve control, stability, and hip function. So with mobility work, leave your ego at the door, because weight does not make these better. Better movement makes these better. The biggest thing I'm thinking about here is rotating through my hip, not bending into that standing leg. Another thing to note is these take a lot of balance. So make sure to brace yourself and just know, like, still to this day, I wobble on these quite a bit. Now, the biggest lesson that I've learned, and the reason this has worked so well for me, is because I stopped treating mobility like casual stretching and I started treating it like training. Think about how people approach strength training. They follow a program, they repeat the exercises, they progressively overload them, and they stay consistent for weeks and months before expecting results. But with mobility, it seems like people do the opposite, and I always did. Like I said, casual, random YouTube videos, different routine, different stretch. And the reason that doesn't work is because your joints do not adapt that way. Your nervous system learns movement the exact same way your muscles learn movement, through repetition, through consistency, through progression. So this entire routine has stayed exactly the same, almost, for 6 months. The only thing that's changed is my quality of movement, my range has improved, my control has improved, and over time, we've slowly progressed certain exercises by adding resistance, but only after I've earned it. So exactly like this, me using the weight, that was after at least 4 weeks, you guys. So next we move into hip CARs, which stands for controlled articular rotations. I do 5 on each side. These look simple, but if you're doing them correctly, they're actually kind of exhausting. The goal is not speed. The goal is taking your hip through the biggest range of motion you have while keeping everything else completely still. So I'm trying to isolate my hip without my pelvis or lower back cheating. One thing that's been really interesting is that this program originally started because of my hips, but as my hip mobility improved, we realized my knees and lower back had been compensating. So once my hips started moving better, all those compensations became really obvious, meaning knee pain and back pain. So that's why we added in the banded TKEs, which are the next exercise. So you're going to take a band, and this was a progression. So I actually started with a lighter one than this. This is 40 to 80 pounds, but you're going to wrap this around the pole like so. And they almost look too simple to matter. They almost feel too simple to matter, but they have made a huge difference. They help me reinforce good knee mechanics before I start loading heavy weight. Sometimes the least exciting exercises end up being the most effective ones. I like to do these before step-ups. I like to do these before Bulgarian split squats, pendulum squat, leg press. Before these, would feel almost like my knee was going to blow out, like a sharp pain in my knee when I would do any pressing or stepping movement. And since incorporating these, I have had 0 issues with my knees. So if this is resonating, if this is hitting home, I highly recommend adding these in. After the banded TKEs, I move into the hip capsule stretch. These are a great alternative to pigeon pose. I personally cannot sit in pigeon without pinching in the front of my hip. So if that is you, try these instead and really sit into that glute. I actually prefer these with a band, which I'm going to show you in just a second after I show you these banded cat-cows, which I love for warming up my spine before posing. But this is really good if you have any lower back pain. I am not rounding through my upper back. I am rounding through my lower back, and I'm using that resistance band to push against my low back. These have saved my back so much, you guys. And I like to do a little like organic movement and kind of move my hips from side to side with the band on there too. It feels really good. But again, after the banded cat-cows, which I do about 5 slow and controlled rounds twice, 2 sets of 5, I will then move into that hip capsule stretch with the band still around my low back. All of these exercises I approach with sets in reps. So just to like briefly walk you through, 90-90 stretch, 2 minutes each side. Lift-offs, I would do 2 sets of 5 each side. Banded internal rotations, I do 2 sets of 12 each side. Hip airplanes, I do 3 sets of, I started with 3 sets of 5 body weight. I have since progressed to 3 sets. I do 10 each side, 8 each side, 5 each side, and I do 10 pounds I do not go up in weight. I just do a steady 10 pounds, 3 sets, 10, 8, 5. That's how I like to approach those. I found that works best for me. Hip cars, I just do 5 each side. Banded TKEs, I do 2 sets of 15 each side. Banded cat-cows, I do 2 sets of 5 slow and controlled. Hip capsule stretch, thread the needle, puppy pose, all these that I'm finishing up on. It's a little bit more organic, but that is how I approach each exercise. I don't do it as a circuit. I do it as if I'm training, and that's how I do it. Again, this has progressed. I would meet with Dr. Kyle every 2 weeks and we would kind of build on it week over week. I just started with the 90-90 stretch, the lift-offs, and again, we have built this entire program over a course of 6 months. So this is my lower body mobility program. I'm able to do it in about 10 minutes if I'm going quickly and not filming myself for you guys. But I hope you enjoyed, and let's finish out this episode.
There you have it, friends. That is my current mobility routine. This will be getting updated very soon, so I'm excited to bring you along with the journey on that. What I hope you took from this is that your mobility program should be like a training program. It should be progressive, and it should change with you and your body and your goals. What you put into your mobility routine, you get out of it. Consistency compounds, and if it's something that you dabble in, you're not really gonna know what's what, if it's working, if it's helping. So getting a personalized mobility program for your specific body is the best way, is the quickest way to fast track whatever aches, pains, ailments, limitations that you are currently experiencing. That's exactly what I did, and how and why I've been able to get so much progress so quickly. But if you resonate deeply with my aches, pains, ailments, and limitations, definitely try this on for yourself. I would start with the stretching, no body weight. Do it every single day or as consistently as possible, because you will feel better so quickly. But just keep in mind, you are going to need to relearn these movement patterns, my friends. When your body starts moving better, it unlocks a whole new world of work for you to do. And it is humbling because it feels like starting over. It feels like learning to walk again. When you suddenly remove these limitations that you've had your whole life in your body and you've learned to work around, you start overcompensating in other areas. And so you are going to need to reduce that load. So one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my fitness journey is by not measuring my progress by how much weight I'm lifting, but by how connected I am to that movement and where I'm feeling that movement. Because if I'm doing a glute exercise and I'm feeling it in my lower back, it doesn't matter how much I'm lifting. So all that to say, I'm very passionate about mobility work. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you did. Let me know what you tried, and let me know what you would like to see more of. But if you like this episode, make sure to like this episode. Don't forget to subscribe. But that is all I've got for you guys today, and I will see you in the next one.